Welcome to the Intuitive Websites Internet Marketing Podcast, bringing you the country's top podcast on the subject of internet marketing, with your hosts Glenn Thayer and the CEO of Intuitive Websites, Thomas Young.
Welcome.
Yeah, folks, welcome back. I know you've probably seen that Tom and I have been outside for a little bit. We haven't been around, but there's a good reason for that. Tom, do you want to share what's been going on in the Intuitive Websites world?
Absolutely. We have been really busy with the business, and that's part of the issue. But another reason we've taken a break on the podcast is I've been working on a book, and the book should come out later this year, but I've spent the last 4 months writing this book. And I thought what we could do is take about a 10-minute podcast here and talk about the book and what's coming. And it'll be also a good time to refresh the 4-step process, because the book is all about the 4-step process.
Now, do we have a title of the book yet?
We don't have a title yet. The book is coming. That's one of the things I'm working with on an editor and publisher. It definitely will have a subtitle that mentions the 4 steps, but really the focus is to have a catchy title that will draw people in, and I'm excited about it. Writing the book was a lot of work for anyone out there that's written a book. This is my second book. The first book I wrote was called Intuitive Selling, and that was on sales and was really for salespeople, and this is for web marketers, and particularly people within companies that have to run a web marketing process and maybe aren't clear how to do that and need direction. So the book is really focused for leaders, for managers, for entrepreneurs, and for business leaders.
Well, let's take a look inside the book really quick here. So what do you have? I mean, obviously the 4 steps that we have are strategy, website design and development, traffic generation, and then monitoring ROI and conversions. So, you say it's for all the different folks at all different levels. Let's start with strategy. I mean, how do you approach strategy?
Well, right. I mean, the target market being the person within a small business that is responsible for making the website successful. And in our experience has been that a lot of times that person's very high up. Even with businesses that could be considered medium-sized companies, a lot of times the CEO or the leader of the business is responsible for the website. Well, they don't always have the education or background to know what they're doing. Right. So what they end up doing is they rely on a team that they build without knowing how to build a team, and then listening to the opinions of that team or the feedback from the team. And so what they end up getting is very specific feedback from that discipline. So the website will be developed and marketed from the perspective of that team member. It might be a technology person or a design person, or it might be someone in the sales department or someone who's an admin. But what this book does is it brings together the 4 steps and explains to this business leader how you build a team to execute the 4 steps. And really, the book starts with an introduction to the 4 steps, then goes into detail on what they are, and then explains how to make the 4 steps real, how to take them to action. And yes, step number 1 is strategy.
So can you take us kind of behind the curtain and kind of give us the what we can expect in the as far as strategy is concerned with the book?
Well, yeah. So strategy is step 1 of the 4-step process. And what generally happens is this is the step that is skipped. People go right to step 2, which is a design and development. We'll talk about in a second. And strategy is the most important component. That's what drives the whole thing. Right. And websites that get the strategy right are the most successful websites, despite everything else. Websites that struggle with strategy or wing it are the websites generally that we can't understand, we can't use, and users tend to leave very quickly. And so strategy has to come from this leadership level that's going to lead the process, and strategy has to be determined and written down in detail before you move to the other steps. And what the book does is very clearly outlines a process for strategy that's built mostly around development of an internet marketing plan, and then a convergence of that plan with your marketing plan and your overall business plan. All those things have to happen before you can execute strategy properly.
Now, do you also do you talk about how to build a team? Let's say if you're a company of one or an organization of one, and you are the person, you're the chief bottle washer and everything. Do you cover, from a strategy standpoint, how to put together a proper team so you do have a website that's reflective, that works for your customers?
Absolutely, and it starts with the strategy, because as you're developing the strategy, that will help you then determine the kind of team that you need. And we talk about 8 different roles of web marketing. In fact, we've done a podcast on that hasn't changed. The 8 different roles of web marketing have to be applied to the strategy first, and the book talks about that in detail. And that's in the first part of the book. And then at the end of the book, we talk specifically about how all of this comes together under project management. And project manager is one of the titles, one of the 8 hats that people wear. And the book really dives into how important that role is in bringing all the folks together. And these 8 roles include things like your internet marketing manager that drives traffic, your design person, your development technology expert, the person responsible for media, such as video and photos, the content writer, the overall director of the team is one of these roles as well. And the book really does a good job of identifying what the roles are and how they apply to the 4 steps.
Now let's move into the next section, website design and development. What can our readers expect to get out of that section?
Well, this is where most, I would say, most web marketing books focus on, is they focus on website design and development. And it actually is, of course, very important, but it's only as good as your strategy, and it's only as good as how well you are at executing that strategy. And I think that in reading the book and what I found in writing the book is that there's just certain elements that need to be focused on. There's 5 elements. They're covered in the book, and they have to deal with navigation. They have to deal with graphic design, homepage content throughout the website. And the business leader that's driving the strategy and driving the website process needs to focus on these various components of design and development. And then it'll be much easier to lead this team and execute that strategy.
Now, the leader doing it, just so we can get clarity for folks, could this person also be a third-party company that's doing your implementation for you or doing your design?
Yeah, and we talk quite a bit about in the book as to what should be internal and what should be external in all these roles. And what tends to be more internal are the folks that are executing the strategy, doing the general focus for content, not necessarily writing the content, but determining what should be written about, and then managing the project. All of that should be mostly internal. The other areas that will come more internal might be traffic generation and the ability to review and understand your website data. But most of the website team is actually an external function. Folks like content writers, graphic designers, even in some cases technology folks, people building your CMS website. For the most part, those are external groups. But they all have to come together. And the book talks clearly about how to keep the vision on strategy, and when issues come up on the website around anything from design to navigation to content, to always come back to, well, what is the focus of the site? Who is the target market, and what is the strategy? What are we trying to accomplish? And to really avoid that sample size of one dilemma where one person in the group or in the team who usually has a strong personality will dominate and drive the direction for the website. Right. And then what happens is the users don't get it, because it wasn't designed from the perspective of the users. It was designed from the perspective of that dominant personality that's running the team.
Right. Well, what do you discuss in the traffic module?
Well, yeah, the traffic generation. Of course, we've done dozens of podcasts on traffic generation, but one of the most important things I'll mention here is that traffic generation is step 3, not step 1, and we get referred to a lot of times as a SEO company, even though SEO is a small part of what we do. Important, but a small part. Traffic generation comes after the strategy has been implemented with a great looking website. And traffic generation is comprised of search engine work, email marketing, social media, content work, anything that brings visitors to you. And I think for people that read this book and for business leaders to understand that traffic generation is not web marketing on its own, it's a component of it, is a really good thing. In fact, we had a client recently, I'll tell you this story, who we built a new website for him. It was the best website in his market because we looked at competitors. We built a great website for him. Did very little, if any, SEO. And his business increased really well, almost doubled. His business almost doubled. He called his accountant, and his accountant said, "What are you doing with your marketing?" And our client told the accountant that he's got the best SEO guy out there. Well, we're not really doing SEO, but that's just the perception that most business leaders have, is that everything starts with traffic generation and getting found in Google. And of course, I've spent a lot of time with George trying to explain to him it's not SEO, it's all of these other factors. I think he's slowly getting it.
Now, the other piece that you've got, and the fourth piece as far as the four-step process, is monitoring ROI and conversions. Now, obviously, how much are we dealing with analytics in this end?
Well, this is totally analytics, and we spend quite a bit of time in the book talking about what does a business leader need to know about this, and how do they set up a reporting process that measures the results of the strategy. And actually, in strategy, we spend quite a bit of time on how to set web marketing goals, the impact of those goals on your business and your bottom line, and how to monitor those goals and get to them. One of the most simple goals to think about in website marketing is, that the more people that visit your website, more than likely, if the site's built well, the better that your business will be doing. Right. And this works in conjunction with online and offline marketing efforts. Well, that's the kind of stuff that has to be looked at on a regular basis. We don't want to see websites losing market share because people are not watching website stats. And if stats go negative, they're not aware that's happening. So, step 4 is a critical part. In fact, in the book, I think I might call it the most important part of the 4-step process.
But you also need all the other pieces to it, too. So just because you're measuring analytics and you're watching analytics, if you're not continuously adding content, Google will just toss you down in the rankings as well.
That's right. And Google right now, more than anything, is looking for content. And in fact, it's interesting to note that really the days of SEO, search engine optimization, are really waning because Google doesn't, in a lot of ways, Google doesn't want SEO. Google wants highly productive websites with great content that meet the needs of their searchers. There's no quick fix to do that. It has to happen organically. It has to happen through hard work from the owner of the website, right, around content and around good strategic focus.
So, Tom, when can we expect the book to be released? I mean, do we have some estimates on when we can see some first copies or be able to download these for the Kindle?
Well, it certainly will be an ebook and also be print on demand. So if you want a paper copy, you can get that. Our target is to have the final draft ready in June of 2014. It's March of 2014 as we talk today, and hopefully that in September the book will actually be ready to ship. It'll be ready to print and go to press. And I hope that the readers of this podcast or the listeners to this podcast will get in touch with us and reserve a copy. As soon as we have the title and the website domain reserved, we'll get that out to everybody, and they'll be able to go reserve their book. And when it comes out in ebook form, you'll get it that day.
We'll let you know exactly when it comes out. Well, thanks for the update, Tom. And folks, remember, reserve your copy when it comes out. And thank you for joining us again for the Intuitive Websites Internet Marketing Podcast. We'll be bringing you much more to come.
This has been an Intuitive Websites Internet Marketing Podcast. For more information and to see all the available podcasts and much more, visit intuitiveblog.com. If you have a website you'd like us to review or an issue you would like to see covered in future podcasts, email us at info@intuitivewebsites.com.